Clipboard. What's going on, guys? We are back again, the LFR Family Podcast. I am LFR Jesus. We've got DJ here as well. We've got another guest back, the first guest for a second episode. He's a returning guest. And I'm going to keep saying guest over and over and over because he should never be introduced as a guest on this kind of platform.
I'm going to tell you something.
You haven't been introduced yet, guest. Hold on one moment.
You sound,
sir,
you're so professional, bro. You're so
DJ, plug us real quick so we can get the guest in.
All right. If you're watching this for the first time, welcome. If we're watching this for the fifth time, wow. You need some things to do on the weekends. Anyway, I'm just kidding.
You got a boring ass life.
Kid, you should always watch us.
If you click this, you
my Twitter's right here, and Brandon's is over there, and our guest is atop his head as well. If you haven't followed those, you should follow him. And on Twitter, you should be on Twitter. I mean, Twitter's the best. Way more easy to use than Instagram. But anyway,
I still don't know shit about Twitter, man. I'm trying to learn, man. I'm so old. I don't know, bro. I'm trying.
We're gonna talk about Twitter within this conversation. I'm sure we'll
you
get to
should
that.
also follow all the YouTube channels that are in our description of our video immediately.
Exactly.
Especially LFR Naya.
It's a lot.
And then to move on from the train wreck of an introduction so far, we've got LFR Van, LFR Family. We've got the whole crew here in the Discord as well. We have our Patreons listening on the other side. They're listening to it live. We've got a conversation today that I think we all agree is a very necessary conversation to have. And I'm excited about it. So right away, we've got Van here. Go ahead and say hello to the
What's
people.
up, man? Listen to me. I don't think that was a train wreck of an introduction.
I thought it was fantastic.
I mean, I thought it was dope. I like how DJ slammed the people who was looking at this and called them boring. And
I drive up viewership. Come on.
Hey, look, I love it, man. I think it's all good, man. It's a conversation, dog. I think it's dope. But you're extremely professional, so hey, man, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's one of the few times you'll hear LFR Jesus being called professional.
He's professional as hell.
Only when we're live. It gets crazy in the Discord.
I'm jealous of how well Van looks into the camera.
I know, like perfectly every time. Yeah.
You know, I pretty much do this like 3 or 4 times a day. Take some practice.
Right.
Let me plug on my daggone. What's the name? Okay, I'm back. I'm gonna stop acting the fool, man. I'm excited, bro. I'm just happy, man. Life is amazing.
It is amazing.
You know what I mean?
We live in a really exciting time right now.
We do.
Now, well, let's get into it. So, right away, we're gonna get into it and pause, and then we're gonna start up a few more times and pause a few more times. We all saw, and if you haven't seen, make sure you go watch it. Van has done some Tom MacDonald content. Shout out Tom MacDonald. We all respect you
Tom
here.
MacDonald.
Yeah, we all respect you here. Now for the HOGs, the hog, whatever it is, gang, and that's not meant with a lot of disrespect, but
hangover gang.
Yeah. So the most recent video that Van did was the No Lives Matter. And there was a conversation that started within the comments that resulted in Van posting a follow-up video addressing some things. And even though that was a 30-minute conversation, I think it would be cool for us to have a conversation as a collective about those things, about what it is to be white, what it is to be black, what it is to be whatever color you are. And in this current time, how do we address ourselves as a responsible person for our own individual decency? And I think that Van has phenomenal views and phenomenal points of interest to speak to clear all of this stuff up.
Clearly not to the motherfuckers who thought that I was an asshole and said that they was unsubbing from the channel.
Right. Well, you're a black guy that said somebody was white. How dare you be a black guy that says somebody is white, right? Like that's
Hey, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
It's frustrating. And I'll tell you the reason why it's frustrating is because people are so ready to fight for something that's not even really at battle, right? Now, when I say that, I mean comment sections. I mean, just articles that are shared on Facebook or Twitter that you never even read the article. You see the headline and then you form an opinion based off of everybody that commented or shared on that because you saw a weird headline. There's a lot of room that we need to grow specifically now with this environment that we have going forward, because this is the first time we're looking at things morally, really since the civil rights era. Whether, no matter what color you are, it's part of your daily conversation right now. And I think we need to learn how to have those conversations.
Well, I think far too many people are being canceled without context. That's my issue. Canceling people without context is bullshit. Now, if you have a boatload of context and a boatload of proof, cancel their ass. R. Kelly deserved to be canceled. We had a boatload of proof, and there was a boatload of piss left behind. You know what I mean? But yeah, cancel him. But a lot of people are being canceled without context, and that's essentially what a few people tried to do on my last Tom MacDonald video. And I thought it was BS, man.
I saw a comment that there was a couple comments, and you know, everybody's going to have their opinions, and I generally I would rather be a voice of reason than argue with someone. But some of the comments that really pissed me off were the ones that would say something like, "Wow, you were my favorite reactor until you said he's white. Now I don't know if I can follow," or what. It's like, number one, you don't even know what he said. You just heard something that you've heard that you should be mad about previous to hearing him say it, right? So that's number one. Number two, if he was your favorite reactor, you would think you would know his views, opinions, and his heart and his soul and the things that he's done with it. And I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago when he did an entire week of Tom MacDonald, and he did 3 to 5 videos a day, and Tom MacDonald acknowledged it, said, "Hey, thanks for enjoying controversial material. It's awesome that you're doing this," and allowed everything to get monetized. But because Van said that he's white when he is white, now we don't know all of that context. None of that shit matters anymore. You said he's a white guy, so I don't know if I can.
None of it does matter, just like no life matters. Just like his song, No Lives Matter.
They're proving the point in the comment section as his fans.
They are
trying to make in the song, and it's insane to me.
You know what? And this is my takeaway here. There's no nice way to call somebody's child ugly. There's no nice way of giving someone saying something about someone's child or someone's loved one, and if it's negative, just a pinch negative, they're going to take offense to it because they are tethered and tied to this person. So I get it. I mean, honestly, that's why the other video I did, and just to give some people some context, for the people, I'm not going to assume that everyone that's looking at this have seen Tom MacDonald's video. And Tom MacDonald was covering a whole slew of worthy subject matter that we should probably discuss. And he hits hard. He hit hard for a reason. And most times, I think he does exactly what I do. He intentionally say shit to grab the attention of people so that they can have a conversation. And to be 1000% honest, this is just my take. I think he's more like Craig from our Patreon than anybody, than anything. What I mean by that is Craig's not bothered by shit, but he loved to have a conversation about everything. And that's what I think I think he's just sitting back like this with his hands behind his head, like, let them communicate now, because this is how healing starts. This is how it happens. And I love that, man. Regardless if you're a Trump supporter or you're a super liberal or you're a Marxist, like some of his people called me, or Black Lives Matter activist, like some of his people called me, you know what I mean? Having this conversation, putting all of them people in a room, it's not going to happen. It's not. That's the great part of the YouTube. I mean, great part of the internet. You put all of those people in the room and make them goddamn talk.
Exactly. And the thing is if you listen to Tom MacDonald, he has between 3 and 5 minutes generally to say what he's saying, and he has to fit in a hook and a chorus that he repeats as well. So there's only so much that you're going to get from Tom MacDonald in his song, or insert artist here, Rage Against the Machine, Grandson. Like, there's a ton of artists that are speaking about very real things. Fever 333 is another one. So insert any artist name, but there's only a limited amount of time. the idea is to plant that seed and get people to talk, just like you said. Now, the problem that we're seeing at this point in social discourse is we're cut off by the creativity of the artist. Once the artist's creativity stops, that's when everybody just like, we don't know what to do. You're an enemy. You're an enemy. You're an enemy.
Right.
I have to virtue signal enough to make something make
Right.
sense that I'm not the bad guy. We need to be able to stop depending on the creativity of the people that are quote unquote above us and start to be able to live responsibly for ourselves. One thing that you brought up recently was the Black Lives Matter situation, where it's, you know, is he a Black Lives Matter advocate? Is he this? And I think it'd be healthy to have a conversation on what exactly that means to a lot of people. And I can speak from the white side without being a racist. You can speak from the black side without being a racist. DJ can interject as well. But there's a very big smoke and mirrors and misguided thing that makes up everybody's experience within the Black Lives Matter movement. And I think there needs to be clarity that there's a difference between an organization that is raising money for something that has to do with Black Lives Matter or the other issues that they're proposing, versus saying Black Lives Matter and being part of that movement and understanding that there's a personal responsibility for all of us to initiate an expectation of equality, no matter what.
You're absolutely correct. I believe that 1000%. My thing is this. I try to work in conjunction with the artist. I believe that's my responsibility. Now, my job is to complement the artist's vision and try to add to it. Now, I know within 3.5 minutes, he wasn't able to really dig deep into the everything of Black Lives Matter and everything else. But he did that purposefully, just like he didn't cuss one time. Everything was about monetization and discussion. Okay. He's a businessman first. He's an artist second. Period. And I'm a reactor. And I say, okay, he left that part out. Let's discuss this part. He left that part out. Let's discuss this part. And I too will say something intentionally to spark conversation. Right. I do that all the damn time. And I'm honestly, all of the negative reviews from that, I appreciate it. I appreciate that far more than a whole bunch of people like, yeah, that was dope. Now, could you do this one? That doesn't start a conversation. Right. But Tom MacDonald started the conversation, and I'm thankful for it. Now, as far as people who have shit to say, hey, I love that too. Even if you have no information to back up what you're saying, I like that too, because there will be somebody in the room who does have information who could fill in that gap. And most times that person with that information is not me. Right. It really isn't. I never claim to be the smartest one in the room, nor do I want to be, because if you're ever the smartest one in the room, you're also the dumbest one in the room. Because the most important thing in life is to surround yourself around people who can teach you something. So, no, I don't know everything. Yeah, you're pissed off at me. Tell me why. Let's have a discussion. And that's the only reason why I did the second video.
Well, there's a lot of people that get pissed off specifically, and I'll speak from the white side of things from here. When we are fed Black Lives Matter content as white people, generally it comes in the form of a Facebook post, a Twitter post, a news article, or something like that. Right. The algorithms play along to your demographic, your culture, the area you live in, the political views that you've posted on in the past, all of those things. So I'll say this without trying to tread too lightly, most white people are ignorant to the holistic picture of what each individual thing means. Right. We're fed the information of a Black Lives Matter protest went bad. We're fed the information of the Black Lives Matter organization wants to support transgender women and push them above this thing. And there's so many things that we're fed that 9 times out of 10 is more of a political view than a morality of a Black life. And when a white person thinks in a political mind, it gets very defensive in a lot of ways. And I'm sure a lot of cultures are that way. But when the content is always Black Lives Matter as a negative, when I'm seeing it as a white person, it's hard to look past it unless you do it on your own. Right. And I know this is long-winded, but for me,
usually, man, you're a long-winded motherfucker.
I am, but this is one of those things where it's up to this is one of those things I'm passionate about. Like my generation, we're responsible for breaking that generational curse of prejudice, racism, and misunderstanding of other cultures.
But why are you so passionate? Because every white, hold on one second. Let me see. Okay. Something popped up on my screen. Every white person, I'm not going to think are this passionate about this, but I want to know, why are you so knowledgeable about both sides? Why do you even give a fuck? Like, if you are in a position where you don't have to, and you can still live a good life, why even choose to live that on that side? Like, what happened in your life to make you actually give a crap?
It's an accumulation of a lot of things, right? Like at some point you wake up and you see what's happening around you, like if for a long time your most sought after thing is, can I please have dinner or can I please have dessert for breakfast, right? Like I wake up every morning as a child, like, can I have candy for breakfast today? I know you said no the last 387 days in a row, but today maybe that will happen, right? There's a time where you wake up and you start to see things, and that's happened for a long time over my life. But I haven't spoke too publicly about this, but the one
Don't
thing.
do it now.
I will. It's fine.
Moment?
No. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
The one thing for me is you have to be able to get to a point where you accept personal responsibility for the thing that you're talking about, right? In this situation, we're talking about Black lives. Recently, within this year, I was in a relationship. It was an interracial relationship. You guys all know my preferences. And we were expecting a child. He was going to be named Jaden Kyle Mullins, and he would have been my first son. And I was preparing for 12 weeks on what it was to look like for me to protect my Black or brown child that doesn't look like me, right? Even though it's my biological son, I'm not what you would expect to see walking into parent-teacher conferences or walking through the grocery store in most times. So I was preparing in a way that I had never really looked at myself. Am I going to be strong enough? Am I knowledgeable enough? Do I even understand what it's going to be like for him or for me or for his mother? There was this period of time where I was taking personal responsibility for a literal Black life. And that's something that 99.99999% of white people will never have to do.
I always want to ask you a question, Brandon, because of your interracial relationship. Do you ever, I know you get looks from the Black people, especially if the young lady is hot.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it, you took one from us, bruh, and you took one of the bad ones. But do you get those same looks from Caucasian Americans as well?
I get them. You get the looks from everybody, and I don't want to make it seem like it's a victimized thing. It's just something that's becoming more. It's becoming more normal now. I mean, as far as I can remember, I always remember seeing interracial relationships where it was a Black guy and a white woman. And I think more recently, within the past 5 to 15 years or so, you start to see more relationships where it's a white male and a Black female. That wasn't something I was used to seeing growing up, but it was something that I was always interested in. I was like, well, why can't I? She's really beautiful, and I really enjoy, like, That's So Raven and stuff, and like my favorite sports like athletes are Black guys, and I want to do these things, and the music that I listen to resembles this, and it was just a very confusing time for me to figure out who I was and why color mattered so much. And until I was responsible for a Black life myself, it still wasn't real. Like, there's a lot of people out there, white people, that have great hearts, that want to do great things, but the most that they do is change their profile picture on Facebook to a Black background, or they'll post a picture with Black Lives Matter in the fist, or something. And it's got to be more than that if you're going to talk about it. That's the thing is, for me, 12 weeks, we miscarried, so unfortunately I never got to meet my son, but that 12 weeks is a very small amount of time for my 30 years of being alive. Like, how dare I only spend 12 weeks understanding how important it is to take responsibility for somebody that doesn't look like me, right? And I don't know that most white people have taken even 1 week to think that way, or a day to think that way. And it's not to make anybody to seem bad, right? I'm not saying white people don't want to. It's just we've never learned how for a lot of the times. It's very uncomfortable getting somewhere.
Where are you getting this information? Because it seems like you're speaking for all white people. Probably some white people that's.
I'd rather project. I'd rather project for white people, and this is an honest thing. I'm not painting anybody out to be bad.
Right.
If I'm projecting for all white people in an honest way where it's not negative for anyone, and somebody speaks out against it, then they're going to show their true colors and understand what they may need to change to better that communication. Because it's not about who's right or wrong here.
Right.
It's about who's allowed to be alive. It's about who's allowed to be equal. It's about who's allowed to do anything that they want to do within the laws of this country, and it should be even across the board. So it's not about what's the better race.
You know, we skipping the line a little bit. I mean, you are a little bit more like aggressive with it. Me, I'm a little more softer with it. Like you're saying, posting a picture with a fist in the air, or posting a picture of an all black nothing, just representing whatever the movement is going through right now, is not enough. To me, that's a start. To me,
but a start happened. I'll interrupt you just to say this boldly. A start happened in the civil rights era. We don't need another start. We need a new direction.
I got you with that, but here's my thing, and this is good because we're actually going back. I like this part. All right, look, check this out. Check this out. And I agree with you, but I believe that every little bit helps. I mean, every little bit helps, because everybody is not fit for every position. It's almost like the jobs we have. Everybody cannot fall into our position and play our part. Everybody cannot date who you date, give them the pipe the way you give it to them, or whatever you do. You know what I mean? Eat their ass. I don't know what you're into. All right. So, but I'm just going to say this. Everybody got their own role. And some people are introverts. Some people are extroverts. Some people don't want to be out there doing this, that, and other, but they'll do other things like post a picture, like, write a tweet. Little things like that. And that actually is not a little thing. Like for me, I can't write a tweet about what's going on in the government right now. Why? Because of my career. I can't. If I do that, that would be a big move. To someone else, be like, all you did was write a freaking tweet. You're not out there on the front lines with getting sprayed by no hoses or bitten by any dogs or being sprayed by, it's not hoses now. It's what's that little spray they spray in your face and be like, nigga, why you do that? What's that
called?
Spray. Pepper spray. That's what it is. So it's different level. It's levels to this. So me, I'm a little bit more softer when it comes to that pause.
And you can be. And I'm not saying that any white people that only changed their profile picture did the equivalent of nothing. What I'm saying is, if we are all aware of what is happening right now, we'll keep politics out of it, but just within the last 4 years to going up to this election, there's been a paradigm shift in what people are voting for. And a lot of people, believe it or not, are voting based off of morals rather than policy. And if you're getting to that point where your political stance is being altered because of your moral beliefs, it's time to have a real conversation about what that means to you, not just what color is your vote.
Correct. I hate to keep challenging you, bro. I apologize, but you think most people are voting on morals? What about the people who are voting for hate to keep going the way it's going, or voting for
just like you said, that profile picture was just like you said, that profile picture change was a start. Out of this election, Trump didn't win. So even though he got 70 million whatever votes, he didn't win a second time. So there is a directional change where a percentage of voters, myself included, voted differently in this election based off of morals.
You're talking about the winning side. You're talking about the winning side.
I'm talking about the population as a whole. Okay. And if we're taking percentages, if we're taking the U.S. population as a whole, has chosen morals in this election, in my opinion. I'm no expert. I'm not a political analyst, nothing like that. But in my opinion, from what I see in my lived experience, hearing at work, hearing on Facebook, hearing the people that I talk about, a lot of people have been talking about moral issues rather than political issues. Okay, how many people know the tax plans? How many people know the domestic relations or international relations? Not many people are paying attention to those things in this election. It's all moral talks. So if we're gonna base our political standards on moral standards for the conversation about this election, it can't end just because an election has been decided. And that's what I'm saying. It's not that it's not good enough to start something. It's that we can't just keep starting it. You have to continue to grow. And you don't have to have a black child as a white person to understand what it is to take responsibility for a black person or a black life. And it doesn't even have to be personified to somebody that you know. Everyone, black, white, no matter what color you are, you have a personal responsibility to be a decent person. So if you're seeing something that is holding somebody else back, even if it's yourself, there's a lot of times where somebody will come to me and want to talk to me about something personal in their lives. And I know right now I'm not really in the best mood, so I'm not really listening. I have to be accountable to myself to say, hey, I'm not really capable of talking about this right now. I care, but let's get into the conversation.
I care, but leave me the hell alone right now.
No, not leave me alone, but I need to make you aware that I'm not feeling what you're saying right now, so that if we're going to have that conversation, let's get there. Let's not just dump a bunch of information on each other and expect something to happen. And that's what a lot of people do, is they walk in and they're like, hey, this, and it's like, whoa, I just had a really bad day, and I don't know if I'm ready to talk about this right now. But I was just
talking to my wife about that, and that's something that people do all the time. They don't realize how irresponsible it is to dump things on people without knowing whether or not they are mentally and spiritually ready to carry whatever you're about to dump on them, because some people can't handle. And I'm gonna tell you this, and I don't mean any disrespect when I say this to you. You went through a great deal, and I apologize that, look, it's not my fault, but my condolences for you losing your son. But when you tell people that, are you extremely concerned with whether or not they are mentally and spiritually capable of carrying that? Do you know what that would do to someone if they aren't spiritually or mentally ready to carry something like that, like a loss of an unborn child?
I know exactly what that would do to somebody, because it happened to me. Because before that, I had not taken 12 weeks to understand what that meant to take responsibility for that life. So I've been through it. I know. And the thing is you don't have to take the pain in order to take the responsibility. There's this thing as humans that we've got caught up on shared torture or shared pain or shared trauma equals something good. And that's not the case. Like, just because I'm going through the shits and you're going through the shits doesn't mean we're going to be able to get out of the shits together.
It just means connection, man. People are yearning for connection though, man. And that's the thing.
Connection is what's needed. And the only reason why I brought up, my personal story is because it would be very arrogant for me to sit here as a white person and have a very bold conversation about racial discourse and social discourse without having some sort of validation to why I feel how I feel. Does that make me any more important than anybody else? Absolutely not. Does it make me better in this conversation than anyone else? I don't think so. I just speak to what's true to me and why I feel the way that I feel. You don't have to agree with me, but I think we could both agree that we have to get better as people.
Do you think Tom MacDonald would like you as a person?
I think that we would get along. Yeah, I don't think that there would be, because the thing with Tom MacDonald, I think he does the same thing that I'm doing right now. He's speaking for a whole lot of people, and that was what was brought up.
You don't poke. Like, that's the thing. He pokes. He pokes the bear. He pissed off, like, that little bullshit that I got on my comments of people saying that was dumb that you said that, I'm leaving your channel. Shit, that was like a little sip of piss. This dude has dumped whole gallons of like pissing off the LGBTQ community and black community and the white community. He's done it all, and he does it purposefully.
Well, he points out the flaws in each thing. I don't think he points out the flaws in each. In this is where, if people were to look into Tom MacDonald a little bit deeper, not even just as an artist, but as somebody who's saying something, he deliberately looks at the flaws and how those flaws affect the people talking about it, and then he raps or sings or makes a song about that environment, right? He's not taking a side saying, I believe that, if you're born of this or that. He may say that in the song, but he's taking that part of the conversation that people can't learn how to talk about, making a statement, whether he agrees or disagrees, or just keeping a nuance to where he's not really showing his own affiliation, and then everybody else decides what team they're on in the comment section. So I don't think that Tom MacDonald would be much different of an opinion in any of this conversation at all. I think he wants to say the same thing, and he's got a platform to do it in a way that we're not really used to hearing.
Here's the thing. He points out what people do wrong. Does does he really ever take a stance though?
I don't think so. I think he does in his personal life, right? Like the people that know Tom MacDonald personally, I think they would see that kind of that side from him. But to be as successful as he is saying the things that he is saying, he has to do it in a very specific and meticulous way. And I think the separation of church and state, if you will. He keeps those things separate. I think he's a different person personally, just like I'm a different person off of this camera. Like nothing's fake. It's just there's certain things that you don't deserve to see about my personal life. There's certain things that you don't deserve to understand about my personal life. But once you get close to me enough and we build that rapport, then I'm here for you every bit of the way, and you can know anything about me. But you have to protect yourself, especially in this time, especially when you're talking about these things.
I understand that. I mean, I'm grateful.
Personal life reveal at 100,000 subs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful for anyone who starts a conversation. I'm grateful for anyone who starts the path of correction, who starts the path of healing, regardless if they are assholes or not. Like I'm grateful for that, because I think that some bad has to happen before some good happen. That's something like building muscle. You have to rip some tissue. They have to swell and you have to rip some more, and then they have to they got to come together again and scab. Then you got to rip some more. You can't build muscle without ripping tissue. You got to rip tissue, and that's what people do and cause these conversations that we're having right now.
Absolutely.
Is imminent. So I don't know. So where do we go from here though? I mean, because everybody can have conversations and everybody can tune into conversations, but what's next? Do you go out on the front lines? Do you what?
I think you start with empathy. And that's very vague, that's very simple, but I think you have to start where you feel, right? Like
right.
And we'll let you speak to this. Like, how much empathy do you have as a Black man on how a white guy may feel that wants to try to support you but doesn't know how do you ever think about, how do I bridge this gap between me as a Black guy and this guy as a white guy, or this lady as a white woman, or this or that or the other? Because I don't know that I've heard those conversations other than what's fed to us as white people. Like, you'll see the videos on online where Black Lives Matter walks up to and I don't even know if it was officially Black Lives Matter, but the way that it was projected to me as it is, you walk up to an outdoor seating place and they force everybody to stand there and kneel, or get up and kneel and do whatever they like. Is there a perception and a level of empathy of, hey, maybe certain people don't know how the fuck they're supposed to help or what they're supposed to do or say? How do we help them do it without forcing some sort of narrative or something? Like, let's be people and bridge that gap.
To be honest with you, no, I don't consider those things at all. Why? Because my responsibility has levels. Once I'm done raising my children, then I will be more concerned with building a nation, if that makes any sense. If like I provide here's the biggest thing I try to provide to people. I try to provide them an open and honest atmosphere where they can feel comfortable to approach me. But other than that, I don't overstep. I try not to overstep. And I try to lead by example. That's it. I try to raise my children. I try to live right. I try to treat my wife right. I try to, have the things that people are supposed to have when they're successful, the house and, the car and the dogs and all the other bullshit that defines the American dream, so to speak. But I try to do that in a manner that's respectful, but I still do it in my own way. Like, I still cuss, I still say, certain things that people frown on, and they probably think by me still saying the things I say, I'm holding my people back. You know what I mean? But people have that right to believe that, everybody has that right.
That's full circle on why you asked me why I'm so aggressive or so passionate about the subject, is because for me, like, I don't think that it is your job or your responsibility to try to bridge the gap that you've literally been fighting to make equal for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, that's why I brought up it's on my generation to break that generational curse of prejudice and misunderstanding and racism. Because for me, just using the LFR family as an example, we can go, I mean, the Discord people, the Patreons are in the Discord now listening. If we were to pop over there now, we could have the same exact conversation with between 5 and 20 other people in that room, and not one of us are going to be offended at each other, because we've understood what it's like to create a platform to really hear and inspire each other to be better people, regardless of what color you are, regardless of what color you understand, regardless of what color you have experience with. It's opening that level of empathy of this is what it's like. In our first podcast, we talked about a lot of those things, whether it was my childhood or your childhood. And one of the most frustrating things about the current climate for white people is we just don't know. Like,
I mean, I just think we show respect to each other.
For a long time, it was all about, for white people, and I think even still for a lot of white people, it's about getting your black card, right? Am I accepted? That's what it's been about for it's not about making people equal. It's about me being accepted into another community, or me be given, you know, the leeway to say this or the leeway to say that. When people found out that, you know, I was going to be having a biracial child, the first thing a lot of white people said was, "Do you get to say the N-word now?" And I'm like, "How fucking dare you?" You know, like, how dare you? Like, there's
a good question,
there's a
though.
difference.
I think that's a good question.
No, it doesn't give me the opportunity to say the N-word, because that's not my lived experience. My son's lived experience is not my lived experience. Just because he's biologically my son does not give me his experience to use for myself. I need to protect him and make sure that his experience is as positive, nurturing, and successful as possible.
So you're one of them people who think that there is a such thing as a stupid question.
I don't think that there's a such thing as a stupid question. I think that there's a such thing as assuming an answer to a question that may not even need to be asked. You know, like, at what point do I need to say that word?
When you're at a cookout, when you're around your friends and you're talking to your friends, when you want to relate more, when you just feel comfortable to say it. I wouldn't advise that you goddamn say it. Right. I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. But honestly, and I just to make this clear, I thought that was a dumbass question for the person to ask that. But at the end, but I've always said that I think that, you know, questions can be dumb. When people say there's no such thing as a stupid question, I've never brought on part into that, ever.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different kinds, and it's people aren't used to it, right? Like, look how much ignorance comes out of something so beautiful, like the birth of a child, the life of a child, right? So much ignorance came out of that just off the assumption of whether or not I could say a word or not. If we were to put that same amount of effort into understanding why we can't, why we shouldn't, why it's just not really part of a conversation that should be had, but hey, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your experience? How can I help you be a better person? How can you help me be a better person? It's not about getting a black card anymore. And any white person that thinks it is about getting a black card and being accepted into the rallies where you can go stand side by side and then yell at people, like, it's not about getting accepted. It's about standing up for the people that mean just as much as you do. You know, like, we can't. There can't be a team anymore. It's got to be, and this is my personal opinion, it can't be black versus white. It can't be this versus that. It has to be us versus us.
That's
because
still a team.
It's still right. Like the
human
best
race.
Right. The best teams lose. The best teams lose because of themselves 9 out of 10 times.
People F everything up, man. They F everything up. I was listening to the Kevin Hart podcast, and they asked a question because a lady wrote, a man wrote in, one of the fans wrote into the show, and he said, "My white girlfriend is hot as hell. Sex is amazing. Everything about her is awesome. But when we have relations, she like to call me the N-word. But it just feels so good that I don't stop her. Shit, I ain't stopping her. She like to call me the N-word. She like to say she loved that N-word D or N-word C word and all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's all about what you will allow, what you feel is necessary, what you feel is hurts the whole, the whole movement and everything. But if you do anything intentionally to hurt anyone, and you know that they will be offended from it, then don't fucking do it. But
Exactly.
that's if you give a fuck. But some people feel like I'm an adult. I've earned my right to say whatever the hell I want. And guess what? Those people will be correct too. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen for us to all be able to live harmoniously in this world we're in? Most people don't even want that. They just want to be able to live harmoniously in their neighborhood or in
They
their
want to be
city.
comfortable.
They
People
want
want
to
to
be
be comfortable.
they want to be comfortable in their city. That's why we have the separation. That's why seriously, that's why we have the separation, because people are like, even in the hood, a lot of people in the hood don't want to be commingled with a bunch of white people. I didn't trust white people for a great majority of my life. And that's because I didn't know white people. I didn't speak to any.
Do you remember the first white person you met that kind of changed your perception of white people?
Yes, Gene Stidham. He was my supervisor at the job I'm in right now. When I first went to work there, I was about 20, 24. No, yeah, I was about 24. And the dude surprised the hell out of me with how much he gave a fuck.
Mhm.
And it surprised me. I was like, seriously, bro? And but then I started to think, why? Why are you being so nice? Like, what the fuck? Like,
Mhm.
you want something from me, don't you? But it took a minute for me to understand that, nah, this dude was just an all-around good guy. Another family guy, treated his wife and his daughters his daughter and his son very well. And he just saw me as another good family guy. And
Now,
when
once you had that realization of him, was it easier to find more examples of that within the white community?
Yeah, it was not necessarily find it, but to see it, because it's always been there. It's always been there. But when you have your blinders on, no, not your blinders. When you have your defenses up, you're not going to see anything. Like, you're going to be
Exactly.
ready to punch everybody that come close to you if they're different, because you just never allowed yourself to accept anybody who was different than you, and that's what I was.
Yep. And
So
I think that's an important thing that everyone understands, is we all have that same story. It's just different people, different colors. For me, it was two different people. It was Dwayne Davenport and DJ Freeman, David Freeman. They were both football teammates of mine. But growing up, we've talked before, I won't go through the whole story, but I didn't feel like I fit in a lot of different ways.
Right.
And they were just two people, regardless of what they looked like, that really kind of was like, hey, I see that you're trying. Like, you want to be good at this, do this. You want to do this. Try working out this way. Try doing this thing. And it was just that real, like, okay, like the athletes that I idolize look like you guys, and now you guys are paying attention to me to help me. And that was kind of what triggered it originally for me to start thinking, like, okay, maybe it is okay for me as a white person to try and get closer to somebody who I do look up to, or some athlete that I look up to, or understand something that I felt like I shouldn't be, like, for the longest time as a white kid, I felt like I shouldn't try to figure out what it is to be a black person, because my family didn't talk about those things. It was, at what point do you get to the age where you start thinking to yourself, why can't I talk to that person? Why can't I understand that person?
But I mean, if you're never around them and you never see them, like, that out of sight, out of mind shit is so true, bro. It's the
Yeah.
same thing with family. I mean, seriously, how much of your family members that you don't ever see, that live all across the globe, that you like, what I'm gonna call them for?
Mhm.
I don't see them.
But
Whatever.
you'd be
But
expected
that's
to
the same thing
give
with
your life for them to protect them at any moment.
exactly. Now, but when you're in certain communities, man, sometimes you just like, okay, we are all we got, and that suffering is the connection. That suffering is the connection. It's a lot of my kids used to my first two kids, Vanjaya and Naya, used to go through this thing where um, um, people used to talk bad about them because they went to a PWI, predominantly white institution, university anyway, rather than going to HBCU, historically black college and university. because they felt like they should be with their own and they should learn their culture. But then when we looked into it, and HBCUs are dope, you know, they're amazing. JoJo goes to one now, Norfolk State University, the same one my wife and I went to as well, and my big brother went to. But a lot of these HBCUs don't have a lot of resources as far as the water might be out, the electricity might be out. They might have rodents, they might have all this other stuff, but they said, man, but that's part of the struggle. That's part of learning who you are. And once you get through that, you're gonna be stronger. And we're like, you shouldn't have to go through that shit in order to be strong.
No.
But they're in the boat. There's a boatload of my people, and when I say my people, you know what I mean, who feel like if you don't go to an HBCU, you're selling out.
Mm-hmm.
So that struggle and that grind and that okay, we need to go through something together. Trust me, there's a great amount of people who feel like that's where you get the connection. And I don't feel like you should have to, because I've been through that shit already. Roaches and rats, you shouldn't have to go through that. Not having a meal, you shouldn't have to go through that. Like not having enough dorms for the kids there, you shouldn't have to go through that. Damn.
Shared trauma and shared disparity is not a success story, and that's what it boils down
to. It's
to.
ridiculous, man. But you'll talk to some convicts who will say the best people that they've ever known in their life was people that they were locked up with. Like, what the fuck? What about the people that gave you shelter and food while you were out and didn't have a job? What about the people who tried to encourage you to do better? Huh? What about those people? But they like, nah, the people that I was locked down with, who looked out for me and I looked out for them, then they start to feel like that's their greatest connection. And they're going off of emotion and connection. That's it. They're not thinking about the people who are always telling them, go to school, listen to your teacher, do things the right way, vote. They're like, man, you corny. But the people I was locked up with for 6 years, those my niggas. Please, man. People are ridiculous, bro.
I think that people see their best people when they want to, right? When you're locked up, you're going to say the person you were locked up with was the best person you've ever known because you had to trust that person with your life every night, you know? So when you're not locked up, when you have the internet to hide behind, when you have a phone screen to hide behind, when you have the comfort of your own home to hide behind, when you have your driver's side seat when somebody cuts you off and you scream every word that you should never say in public to hide behind, when you have all those things to hide behind, you forget how good those people in that environment are, right? You don't have that connection. When you're locked up, you're like, hey, we're going to have to shit, eat, and jack off here together. So
together.
Like... Can we figure this out?
Nobody walk in here, please, brother.
Right, and honestly, I feel like that's the kind of direction that things are going to go to if we don't figure out how to do it correctly on the way. Because there's going to be a point where it will be a civil war, it will be a race war, it will be a war within your own family or something, because people just won't have the conversation. They just won't talk about it. They just won't get uncomfortable so that you can find that solution.
Let me tell you something, bro. And here's the thing. People don't want to because people are selfish. What we're talking about has everything to do with race relations and whatnot, but this way of thinking ties into everything that we live in. Like, you can be married to someone, or you can be engaged to someone, or you can be dating someone who are great, who treat you well, who whisper sweet nothings in your ear, who hold doors open for you, who fix you something to eat when you're hungry, or go get you something when you're hungry. Those are the people closest to you. But that one stranger that shows you that extra bit of attention, you think they are the world. They are showing me attention that you never showed me. They're touching me the way you never did. What the fuck? Like, I'm the real one. I'm helping you pay bills. Yep. I look out for you when your ass got cramps and you're bleeding. You know what I mean? But none of that shit matters because it's all about that connection at that point where they feel like they pick out that one little bitty negative part of their life and they connect with somebody and they think they're the best thing since sliced bread. Shout out to Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread.
Wonder Bread.
So, like, So I have a personal question that kind of goes along with that then. When I first started watching the LFR channel, you were doing live streams, you would take requests for songs and check out what people liked and all that kind of stuff. And I would request music, and you started to notice, hey, this dude has a good sense of music. He's got a good ear. Right. For, we'll say, a short amount of time, you were not aware of what my race
ethnicity was, and that not at all. I thought you was black.
You had your own assumption, right? You thought I was black. I don't think I ever did anything to portray myself that way. But at the end of the day, you had that, this guy must be a brother, right? So for me, was there, when you found out that I was a white dude, did your perception of everything you knew before that change?
I immediately didn't like you anymore.
You laughing like he's joking.
Yeah, naturally.
No, seriously.
Great talk, guys. Really good podcast.
Yeah, good, very good talk. Now, and the funny thing is, there's truth in every joke. But the thing is, it's not about me. It's now I honestly, I became more guarded when I found out you were white. And then I found out also that you were flirting with my daughter and you were white. Here you go. I wasn't flirting with you. I'm just messing with you, bro. But here's the thing. You asked the question, and I'm going to answer this as honestly as I possibly can really quickly, because I could be long-winded too. Yeah, I did see you differently. Only because you're white. It's that simple. It's that ignorant. It's ignorant as fuck if you think about it. Like, you got this good dude who is feeding you all this good music, giving you great conversation, just being a good guy, not only to me, but the people who are also in the live feed. You're talking to other people and just being a good dude. But as soon as I found out you're white, I'm like, whoa, I gotta watch him now. I'm serious, man, because I wasn't used to that. I wasn't used to that. Niggas who I've seen people walk up to pit bulls that they didn't own. It's just started to, oh, you're a good boy. Oh, you're a good boy. Yes, you are a good boy. Yes, you are. That's because they're used to having dogs. They're used to being.
That would be me.
See, and that's the thing. Me though, if I'm not used to seeing a mean dog, I'm great with dogs. Like, every single pet that I got, I'm awesome with it because I just now started learning dogs. Now I would do something like that. But if you're not good, man, I'm crossing the street. Most people are scared as hell. You're like, you're not gonna bite you. What are you doing? But other people like, oh, you're a good boy. Yes, you are. Oh, you so, what's his name? What's his name? Oh, you like all that other bullshit. Like, but here's the thing. And
just
I'm
to
not
interject, that's how every white person wants to be treated by their black friend. Anytime
oh, Jesus.
Good, like, who is a good boy? Who's a good boy? Who's a good
Look, dude, man, here's the thing. Once I started learning, once I started learning that y'all were cool as hell, man, I'm so serious that y'all were this freaking cool. I felt bad.
I felt bad. I think that, and I've been silent for most of this because I'm the whitest guy here, but
oh, Jesus.
I something that I've heard a lot of people say is that they don't see color, and I've seen a lot of people also get offended at that because that stance is to say, like, well, I'm just gonna ignore the issue, like there is no issue, like there is no differences. But I think from what I've seen on the internet, it's more important to see that we are different, but to understand that we have differences and find a place that we can meet in the middle, or realize that Van and I are from very different cultures, very different upbringings, but we can still have a good conversation and be civil to each other.
Absolutely.
And be nice to each other. Let's not harp on the fact that he likes the losing awful Washington football team, and my superior New York Giants beat the shit out of them this week. Not really. They won by 3.
Gang, gang. By 3.
But like, we can find stuff we can talk about, and we don't have to always be like, oh, well, Van's black, so I can't chat with him.
I think you should, bro. And I like that, DJ. I like that you said that, bro.
And it's a lot, like,
it's difficult to do.
Come up with a subject that we can talk about and have a good time talking about it, and just be friends. And we don't always have to dwell on the negatives, and I understand that I'm kind of in the position of, I guess you would say privilege, where I wouldn't be in my neighborhood. I wouldn't go out and worry about there being any sort of hate crime towards me. So I know that I haven't lived that, but I mean, I think for me personally, I take everything on a case to case basis. So I meet Van, I don't think to myself like, yeah, I know Van's black, but I don't, in my head, I don't say, well, I gotta watch out for this guy. Like I try to learn who he is, and if I find out that he
he's an asshole.
Yeah, if I find out he's a fool, maybe I just won't hang out with him. But like if I like
And there you go.
I'll hang out with him.
And that should be with everyone.
I would expect to be treated the exact same way. So that's how I roll about it. But I understand, like, I also understand that my upbringing is very different. I don't have to go through some of the stuff. Like the way I've heard it, like people will get very offended if you say, like, some white people get offended when they hear white privilege, because they're like, well, I'm not rich, I'm not high, I've struggled, and
I struggled all my life. I know rich people. I'm not that.
But
yeah,
I think it's important, from what I was told, and I agree with. White privilege doesn't mean that you don't have struggles. It just means that when you don't struggle because of the color of your skin, like specifically, like you don't worry about when you get if I got pulled over by a cop. I'm about to go out to the store and get some snacks after this, if I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If I got pulled over by a cop, I would not worry that I would get shot by a white cop. I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. That wouldn't be. That wouldn't.
Or let alone searched, right?
Or
let
searched,
alone
yeah.
even just searched.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't cross my mind that, oh shit, this could happen. But for people of color, that's a very real thing. You just because of actions that have happened, not just this year, for 20, 30, 40 years, back
right,
as long as there's been
for
cops,
a long time.
So
right,
like that's how the privilege thing was explained to me, and I completely agree with that, because I don't feel pressured like that, so I sympathize, and I'm one of those people, just like Brandon was talking about. I'm one of those people that I'll change my profile picture. I won't change my profile picture. I'll just post something. But other than that, like, I throw support. I'll donate to a charity. I'll throw support here and there, but it's very much, sometimes it feels like you're walking on eggshells, because you don't want to overstep either. You don't want to say something. You don't want to say something and offend everybody, and they be like, oh, well, no, man, you can't say that. Like, so you kind of, I've just been like, I check up on people. I say, hey, how you doing? You doing all right? Anything I can do? I take the stance of asking, how can I help? Instead of being like, fuck all you people that don't support this. I just, like,
yeah, y'all just hating. Fuck y'all.
Yeah, that's just a bad.
You know what?
I think it's important. I think it's important to understand that reservations are okay, right? Like Van said that when he found out that I was white, he thought different. Does that mean he treated me different? No, absolutely not. Once he realized I was a white guy, him paying more attention to me, to whatever the reason was, check this guy out, see what he's about. Click the like, subscribe, comment at the below. That was a play on your little thing when you do your see what it's about. But the more you paid attention, like, oh, this is a white guy, I have to see, like, I've got to analyze this, right? You didn't start treating me different. You didn't stop listening to the music that I suggested. You paid attention more in a way that you got to know who I was, rather than just the color that I represented. And very quickly you understood, okay, this is not just a white guy. This is not just a guy that's, here to say, listen to what I want you to listen to, black man. This is my white music. Like, there's, and a lot of that exists. A lot of those approaches are, here's a black guy that doesn't look like me, that I know has never heard this song. Maybe if he hears it, we can connect on a level that it'd be okay for me to say something that might be uncomfortable, or to get a better understanding.
Yeah, I think that
pretty smooth, bro.
I think that it's very important to realize that there's always going to be some sort of, like we're all humans. We're gonna have predeterminations. We're gonna have things in our head that say, like, like Van, if you're out in an alley and there's a group of guys walking down the other side of the alley, three white guys, skinheads with shotguns and plaid shirts and Confederate flags, you might think to yourself, "Oh shit, these guys, these guys." Stereotypically, you would think, "Oh, this ain't good," but those guys could be the nicest dudes. So I wouldn't suggest walking up to them, but keep an eye out. But I wouldn't say necessarily that.
Them niggas ain't nice, man. They got skinheads and they got Confederate flags and shit.
Yeah, no.
They ain't nice.
Like
but you know what?
You're
absolutely right, bro. I can't judge a book by its cover, man. At the end of the day, it's like, you know what?
It's
Let
very
me
situational.
talk to you.
Yeah, it's very situational. Like in the ridiculous situation I just came up with and said to you, I definitely wouldn't recommend being like, "Hey, what's up, fellas?
Well,
You want
what was his name?
But
What was his name? DJ, if you can Google it, I think it was Daryl something, something with a D.
Daryl
He was
Stubber.
no, it wasn't Daryl Stubber.
Love cocaine.
It was he's a black blues artist, and he started going to KKK rallies, and he converted hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I shouldn't say that many hundreds. He converted a lot of white people from the KKK to abandon that, and he had these people had sent them their caps and their gowns and their hoods, and saying, I denounce it. I'm done with it. If you could find his name, but that's an example of, hey, maybe these people are good people, but this is the only thing they've ever known, and no one has ever challenged it.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean?
But again, I totally respect somebody that isn't gonna approach them either.
Right. Same. I'm not saying it's anybody's responsibility to go to a KKK rally and say, hey, maybe you should listen to me.
Yeah,
but there are examples of success stories within something as radical as that,
Yeah, but even with DJ's example, I wouldn't expect for you all to feel comfortable if you're walking down an alley and you see 3 white dudes with skin.
I wouldn't.
I
wouldn't.
And that's the thing.
See how much hair I have? Anybody with less than this much, I don't fucking trust you.
Hey, look,
Here's
my
the thing.
area,
I won't walk up to a bunch of certain black dudes that way, or certain Hispanic dudes that way, or certain Asian dudes that way. Why? Because I watch too many movies,
right.
and I think that is a likelihood that somebody might karatecize my ass. But I'm just going
karatecize.
Here's the thing, though, man. It's all about being smart, but making good choices. This is one thing my wife says to my kids every day before they go to school: be a good friend, make good choices. Be a good friend, make good. She's been saying that for like decades. Be a good friend, make good choices. And they've done that. And it's been instilled in their heads that just be a good person. That's it.
Yeah.
Just be a good fucking person. When I finally meet, like, my kids never had white friends until they went to college.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't by choice. It was just the demographic. And they've always been, our kids are suburban as hell. Because I'm one of the biggest DC sellouts in the world. Shit, I ain't ever going back. Ever. But here's the thing, though, man. It's all about the choices we make. It's all about the choice we make. And I didn't like pork chops until I fucking ate a pork chop. Then I realized them bitches are delicious.
Now you see why I like interracial relationships.
That's... You know what, Brandon? I'm be honest with you, man. I'm be honest with you. When it didn't make matters worse, but it didn't make matters better between us when I found out that the black girls that you were dating were some of the baddest ones. Like, this motherfucker, like, seriously? Yes, I already have mine, and I'm not concerned with getting any more, but god damn it. Like, seriously? It must be the hair.
Maybe it's just that I'm a decent person. Maybe that's what it is.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah,
DJ
maybe.
and I will agree with that one. That's what we can go with. We're gonna agree.
I try to be a decent person.
But yeah, man, I think these conversations are necessary, man. But thank you, man.
These are honestly conversations that I would generally avoid. Just to be honest, I mean, like, if I wouldn't go into one unprovoked, I wouldn't just be like, "Hey, y'all, how you doing? You want to talk about race relations?" Can
you do that one more time?
Hey guys.
But hey, DJ, I will say this though, man. I do kind of get irritated when when white people assume that just because I'm black that I hate Trump, or just because I'm black that I'm liberal.
Right.
So what do you think about what's going on, man? Fucked up, ain't it? I swear I can't wait until they get that guy out of office. What made you so sure that I wasn't a supporter of that guy? I mean, that right there, I don't do that to people. You know what I mean?
Well, that's sort of like not exactly on that subject, but that's one of the reasons that, like, just my personal philosophy with the whole with racial relations in general is, I understand that people are very passionate about it, and I follow a lot of people on Twitter that are very vocal about, Black Lives Matter and fair and equality and stuff like that, and I don't try to speak for them. Like, I'm not gonna quote one of their tweets and be like, yeah, don't do that, or like, I let them speak for themselves, and I will support them with maybe just, if I agree with what they're saying, I'll retweet their post, I'll comment, something nice to them, but I'm not gonna like try to put words in their mouth or something like that. Like, and that's just the way I work with everybody. I wouldn't put words in your mouth either. I wouldn't say, oh, well, Van's definitely this or Van's definitely that. I just try to treat each individual person with their own scorecard. You know what I'm saying? Like, every individual person can have their own thoughts. Every individual person, just because if you and Brandon both had long hair, I wouldn't assume that both of you were,
bitches.
Surfers. Like,
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm surfers, but bitches. Yeah, I wouldn't assume.
Same thing, surfing and getting bitches. The same thing.
So I just try to case by case, because, man, I know. Look, I know
you're a good dude, DJ.
I know every race got some trashy motherfuckers.
Oh my God, yes.
Let me tell you something. White people, we got some trashy motherfuckers.
White people are some of my least favorite people when it comes to the bad ones.
We got some bad. I mean, I was gonna say, when we were talking about the skinheads with the plaid shirts and the Confederate flags, man, there are a bunch of them out here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. Man, if you want to see some of them, we can just go down there to the Walmart parking lot. They all park their big old trucks with their lifted rims and shit like that out there, and they shoot off fireworks and stuff at all hours of the night.
I will be the type of person to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they're bad people.
Hopefully, it wouldn't be my last one.
If you're watching this and you're thinking that I'm trying to make fun of them, I'm just saying that they exist. That's
the beauty of it. We've talked this long, and none of us have even alluded towards any of our political affiliations, right? Like, it is possible to talk about these things without throwing the color of your vote on top of the color of your skin. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Right. Well, I think it's necessary, and I appreciate you guys setting this up so we can talk, man. So yeah, thank you to y'all. Y'all are dope.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you coming out. If you want to sign us off with a couple little plugs, or if you have something else to say.
Yeah, sure. I was just gonna say, if you're one of our 45,000, I mean 30 subscribers, just feel free to leave a comment, give us your opinion, be chill. We tried not, we're trying to have a civil conversation about stuff like this. We ain't trying to, we ain't trying to change anybody's views. That's for sure. I'm not trying to change nobody's views, personally. But I feel like we can all have civil conversation about stuff like this, and come to some sort of middle ground. And sometimes you gotta agree to disagree on some things too. That's healthy. So, but yeah, leave us a comment. Subscribe to all the channels that are in the description. Say nice things about me and bad things about Brandon, and
dope.
And,
I like how I might want to be one of the only people that still does this move.
Hang loose, bro. And definitely follow Van over at LFR Family, especially if you're still not offended that he called Tom MacDonald white, which
an
Tom
asshole.
MacDonald is actually.
I called him an asshole. I called him a son of a bitch. I called him a few things.
Yeah, well, it's all good. I'm sure he doesn't have a shrine to you in his house either. So
right, yeah,
it's all good.
Can I say something as well?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind. And I know, I'm sorry. Did DJ plug Sparkling Ice yet?
Oh no! Look, let me tell you something about Sparkling Ice. First of all, we've been doing this 5 episodes now, and they still haven't sponsored me, which I find very irresponsible. And second of all, Amazon fucked up my order, and my 12-pack didn't come in today like it was supposed to, so I was on one here today.
Them assholes, man. They must not know what you up to, man. They don't know you're on the big thing.
I got an empty one right here.
They haven't heard yet.
They haven't heard. Well, can I say this? I just want to say, I think it's amazing that you guys are doing something, just having real conversation. Because real conversation is needed, is necessary, and I also want to say to the people, continue to tune in. I would really like to discuss. I would like to talk to straight men and just let straight men know that that all gay dudes might not be trying to recruit. Because when I was growing up, I thought all gay dudes was trying to recruit, and I was pissed off every single time one of them even looked at me.
Like a Jehovah's Witness.
But my wife fixed me up, and she got me. She like, dude, you're not that cute for one.
Damn.
Yeah, damn. I don't have the long hair, like, you know what I mean? She said, but you need to straighten that shit out. So that's why it's good to have a good woman, man. Because they point out the shit that you think is cool, and they let you know, nah, that ain't it.
And I'll say about that subject, not that I want to get into a whole other subject since we're about to sign off, but I'm a straight man and I compliment my male friends because it's healthy. Brandon's got great hair. Van, nice beard. Y'all looking great.
Man, I post a selfie on my Facebook. I post a selfie on my Facebook, and I can guarantee that my dude Brandon Picaro, I went to school with him. He's a gay guy. Every single time, he's going to tell me I'm killing it. He's going to compliment my hair. That's the most genuine compliment I get. Females out here aren't like that.
I'm secure about my sexuality. I ain't trying to get with them. I'm just like, hey, bro, that's a nice shirt.
Right.
Hey, bro.
Hype me up sometime.
Your hair looks good,
For
bro.
real. Hype me up sometime. But if you fit that description and you want to have a conversation with us, the link to our Discord is below for the LFR family.
And
join into that Discord and the Patreon as well.
No, it's that way. It's down there.
It's one of these ways.
It's over here.
There is a public part of the Discord too. So if you're not a Patreon yet, but you want to talk to us in the Discord about this or about other things, you can join there. We'll have a conversation with you, maybe get you on the podcast as well. We already have our Twitters and everything plugged as well. Going forward, we're going to have very exciting things. Sky Allen will be coming up soon. You better get a hold of me in some of your time, Sky Allen, if you're watching. And we've got Jaybird, we've got Mako, we've got a lot of different Patreons that are going to be coming up next. Going forward, I invite you guys to have some conversations that let you better understand the people you deal with every day, rather than arguing with people that you'll never meet on the internet. With that being said, we love you. Much respect. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Peace out. We'll see you next time.
Peace.